Yo guys, what is up? It is James. Welcome back to another video. So today we are talking about shadow spells, PvP, King's Isle, a little bit of the game's lore. And first of all, guys, I just want to apologize for not uploading. I know I need to get back on the ball. I promise it is coming very, very soon. In fact, today is the day that I start uploading regularly again. So there will be a video after this tomorrow. I promise it's coming out. Stay tuned. Tomorrow the video will go out, and the video tomorrow will actually be a follow-up to this video, so do stay tuned tomorrow for that video when that goes up. So as I said before, today we are talking about shadow spells, PvP. We're going to touch upon a little bit of the game's lore and talk about why I believe that 99.9 or there's a 99.9% chance that shadow spells are actually staying in the game. And I'm going to tell you guys why and give a little bit of like evidence and talk about that. But before we actually get into it, I want to go ahead and switch over to the patch notes on the website real quick. All right, so here we are on the game's official website. And just so you guys know, I did not change anything at all. And just to assure you guys of that fact, I'm just going to go ahead and refresh the page really quick. Refresh. Bam, we're back. Okay, so in order for us to actually start talking about this, I have to go ahead and go all the way back to Chrysalis. I think it's part 1. Yeah, Shadow Magic Castle Tours. Okay, so let's go back here, right? So Chrysalis, as we know, is the world where shadow spells, first got introduced. Shrike, the other one that gives block, and Seraph, all those get introduced in Chrysalis part 1, I believe, right? So if we scroll down, we can read right here that it was King's Isle's initial decision to make Shadow PvP specific. Now, if you actually think about it, yes, FFA, Caterpillar, Abominable Weaver, Jesus Christ, all the shadow spells are super OP. But when you think about Shrike itself, Seraph, even though they have, their downsides to using them, like the backlash, which they've actually nerfed, I believe. 50 Pierce on Shrike, even though it was made to kind of combat, Jades and high resist people back then, because back then the highest level was level what, 95, 90. It's still super OP because 9 times out of 10 you weren't going to get a Jade back then, because Jades were kind of rare. Like they were maybe I'm not sure because I didn't PvP back then, but I would say if you went for 10 matches, you might get one. You might get one. Maybe. 50 Pierce, it's just Shadow Shrike is such an OP spell. Their initial decision was to put Shadow Magic in PvP, and they say right here, so this should make things very interesting, ... So it's not like a malicious thing, but here's where it gets a little bit into the game's lore. So let's go ahead and revert back to the game so we have a good backdrop, I guess you could say. Okay, so right now we are going to take a moment to delve into the game's lore a little bit. Right here I'm going to display a piece of Morganth's dialogue that you see her say when you fight her in Ghost Avalon, right? So I'm gonna read this and then just take a minute to imagine what players, when that was, when level 80 was max level and you couldn't there was no Chrysalis, there was no Darkmoor, nothing like that. All right, there was no Shadow Magic yet. Just kind of imagine what players thought, wow, what is she talking about? This thing that she's talking about must have been so powerful that it turned her evil, right? And this is Morganth, right? So she's basically talking about right here, she's insulting Ambrose, saying that he's keeping something from her, something about a book. And obviously now we know that that book had something to do with shadow magic, right? So, kind of transversing that into what I want to say next. Shadow magic, it is corruption, right? Yada, 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 etc., etc. Basically, the gist of it is that it turned her evil, and you guys saw what happened to her at the end of Chrysalis Part 2. It completely corrupted her, right? She went from young Morganth to some spider thing. So essentially, that is what is happening in PvP and with shadow magic. Essentially, if you take your character through Chrysalis, you are deciding to then transverse your character through the Shadow Arts, thus causing a bunch of RNG with Shadow Pips, you know, making things kind of quote-unquote easy, because I know it's not just PvP that gets complained about, it's PvE. People are saying that Shadow Spells make things too easy. You know, they're complaining about worlds being too hard, and then when Shadow Spells come out, then they're like, oh yeah, this is too easy. You know, things are just kind of all over the place, right? Shadow is making the community basically bubble, in a sense, but that is what it is supposed to do. So it kind of transverses into real life a little bit, but at the same time, the plot that KingsIsle has set for the game, at least at the moment, is that Shadow is supposed to, like, it was never supposed to be introduced to us. So in the beginning, Wizard City, Krakatopia, you know, Mushu and Dragonspire, level 1 through 50 at that point when 50 was max. The game was innocent. There was no RNG. Now, Shadow is just taken over. You know, it's causing everybody to complain, but that is the way that KingsIsle wanted level 100, or my bad, level 90 through level now 120 to be experienced. Ultimate chaos, you know, RNG, all caused by Shadow Magic. So you know, it's kind of your choice whether you want to take a character up, you know, learn Shadow Magic, transverse into the Shadow Arts, and then take that into PvP. It's kind of part of the game in a more deep, like in a more deeper sense than just saying, oh yeah, it's in the game now, you know, it might get fixed. No, it's part of the game. It is the way that KingsIsle wants you to experience the game if you are the level where you can, or if you have gotten to the point where you have learned Shadow Magic. RNG and Ultimate, you know, Shadow is supposed to change the way you play the game. And I'm pretty sure that's what they said in one of their patch notes. I'm not going to go back and look through it. But, yeah, it's ultimately what they want. And they are not going to take Shadow out of PvP. I can almost guarantee you they are not. Because that's just what you sign yourself up for when you take your character up. It's pretty much all or nothing with Shadow. You either get the Shadow Pip and you win the match, or you don't. So that is what you sign yourself up for. I'm sorry, I'm getting kind of off track, but the game's lore kind of connects with what we have in our hands right now, or what is kind of in the game right now. And KingsIsle has had years to fix this. Shrike in its own right was super OP and did not need any sort of, you know, stance in PvP. Now we have all these other spells, you know, 3-pip shadow spells, 2-pip shadow spells, soon 1-pip shadow spells. And as the story, you know, goes on and things get more quote-unquote effed up, you know, as the story goes on, and the story it's pretty deep right now. I'm actually going to leave a link in the description to a theory that my friend made that could possibly predict what's going to happen next in the storyline. But guys, the storyline and PvP and the way that the game is right now connects more than you probably think. So just kind of think about that for a minute. I know it might seem kind of like silly, but it actually makes sense. So you sign yourself up for the level that your character is and what you have basically to play with, whether that is PvP or PvE. So that's pretty much it. That's the video for today, guys. I'm actually going to do a follow-up video tomorrow about this and talk about PvP in specific and not shadow spells and whatnot. But yeah, this is, you know, a major reason why, you know, level 50 PvP, level 60 PvP, you know, they're getting more and more popular because people are starting to realize that Shadow is probably going to stay in the game. It's been here since 2014. And Darkmoor has been out, your daily reminder, by the way, Darkmoor has been out for, what, 3 years, 4 years? And Shadow Magic is still in PvP. So I do apologize for rambling on a little bit, but for the most part, I did keep this video well structured and whatnot. So this is going to be the video for today, guys. If you have enjoyed or have been keeping up with what I have been saying, apologies again, then do drop a like on this video. And again, video tomorrow following up on PvP. See you guys then. Peace.